welcome to another episode of Connections. Today I'll be speaking with the wonderfully talented classical crossover group Veritas. Hello guys!
Hey,
Hi, Natasha.
How are you guys doing?
We're doing fantastic.
Great.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, very grateful to be here with you today and very grateful to be spending some time with your audience today.
Yes, it's so exciting to chat with you. We had a tremendous experience when you guys were on the Christmas concert, so we're very happy to have you guys back again. For those who don't know you, thank you so much. I just cut you off, but that's the fun thing of Zoom is that we always go and talk to somebody.
Yep.
But what I might have you do is just starting with James, then we'll go Jeff, Andrew, Scott, and Jordan. If you guys introduce yourself and tell us what voice type you have.
Yeah, sure. I'm James Berrien. I live in Nashville, Tennessee currently, and I am a baritone, a baritenor, a barely something. But yes, I'm a baritone.
We call those barely tonals.
Yeah, that's pretty typical.
My name is Jeff Anderson. I live in Houston, Texas, and I am a first tenor.
My name is Andrew Goodwin, and I live in Mobile, Alabama, and I am a tenor, second tenor, so kind of middle voice.
My name's Scott Lawrence. I live in Nashville, Tennessee, and I sing bass.
My name is Jordan Johnson. I live in Nashville, Tennessee as well, and I sing first tenor.
So there's no tenor jokes going around because I know there's a lot of sopranos, so we just don't.
These other guys know better than to mess with me and Jeff.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
we're outnumbered.
Or Andrew for
We've
that.
learned.
Right.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was always told in university like how special tenors were, and I was like, okay, I'm sure we're all special.
Special's a good
but-
word.
We'll have a
Special is a
separate
good word.
conversation about that later.
Oh, man.
Some would say high maintenance. Yeah.
Perhaps, yeah. So tell us a little bit how each of you guys got started singing. I'm sure you got started at different ages and maybe with different music genres. And I guess we can do the same order if that works for you.
Sure, yeah.
Sure.
So I started singing when I was 14 years old. I mean, like really singing. Like I wanted to do it. I wasn't just voluntold to do it in our little church Christmas production or something, you know. And I where I grew up in Northwest Alabama, we didn't have a choir. We didn't have really much of a music program in my school. So I grew up singing in the church choir. And that was where I really cut my teeth, which was a great space for me to get started because everybody's required to say amen. And so it was a great confidence builder for me at that time. But yeah, 14 was when I started.
Boy, that's a good question. I grew up on the West Coast, LA, and I started singing in show choirs. That was kind of my first experience with performing. So about 8th grade. I mean, did some little things here and there, but about 8th grade, started doing show choirs, and I did that for a good long time. And these guys can't imagine what I looked like dancing, but it was a lot of fun. And then started, taking voice lessons and performing through high school, and then I moved from Seattle, Washington, to the Orlando, Florida area to join a singing group when I was 18, right out of high school. And so I started singing professionally about that time. And so been doing this for quite a while now.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah. Oh, man. I'm trying to think. I really started singing. It was in high school. So I grew up playing sports and doing all that. I wasn't really musical at all until high school. And I started doing a lot of musical theater there in high school. And then I went on tour with the Continental Singers. And that was I think it was after my sophomore year of high school. And we toured all summer. And that's where I really got a love for music and singing and the road life and all of that. Went to college for music. studied vocal performance and all that, and so still teaching. But yeah, definitely got my start in musical theater there in high school. So, and that was I grew up in South Florida, so Delray Beach, Florida. But yep.
My school didn't have any sort of music program or anything like that, but my family was very musical. My mom played several instruments. She sang. My sisters were both very musical. My grandparents, and so I was always around it. Actually, when I was really little, my family even traveled some and sang and things like that. And so I grew up around it, but never really took it seriously or thought about it as a career. I was more involved actually in visual art, drawing and painting, that kind of stuff as a kid. And then my high school, I got involved in theater and started to really enjoy performing and things like that. But it was just straight theater, no music or anything like that. And it wasn't really until I got to college that I really started to consider music as an option. I was touring with an ensemble to help offset the cost of my schooling and just fell in love with it. And that's when I decided actually my junior year to switch majors to music, which ultimately led to getting my master's in vocal performance. And here I am with Veritas today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. Well, I grew up in South Florida as well. Very musical family. My mom and my sister both sang, in the praise team. So at church, and always did solos and stuff. So I sang, the little kids solo and the Christmas show with the little shepherd's outfit on. And then from then on out, my uncle started a group called Truth. So I grew up going to Truth concerts all the time, which was a traveling Christian group that was pretty popular. So I kind of always wanted to do something like that. So I would always be in choir at school and like the audition choir and stuff like that. And then I would pursue music at Liberty, and then I pursued music at New York City, musical theater school. Then I ended up going to Mobile and being a worship leadership major and studying music there as well. And that's where I met these guys, and that's how we do music together.
So you guys met on a praise team?
No, we were just us guys. No, we sang in 4 of us sang in the Voices of Mobile together in college, and then we went out on the road with Truth right out of college. That group came back for an anniversary that I mentioned. My uncle's group that he started went out for a reunion tour, and we were a part of that as well. So that's kind of how we started cutting our teeth all together professionally.
That's great then, because you guys really grew and like learned together. And then how did Veritas as it is come about?
Yeah, so that tour that Jordan mentioned, the anniversary tour of Truth, that was in 2011. And that was about a 1-year tour. And as soon as that was over, part of the idea during that tour, it was guys and girls in that group. And the idea was that we would actually split off and kind of start our own thing once that tour was over. And so that ended in the spring of 2012. And then September of 2012, we had our first concert as Veritas. We released our first EP and then we started, we did a few things that fall. And then by January, we were traveling full time. And now we're going on 9 years of touring together full time.
Wow. That's happened pretty fast then. And what does the name Veritas mean?
So it's actually a Latin word for truth. And so we chose that kind of as an homage to the group and to Roger Breland, who founded that group. It was just a way to kind of thank him for investing in us and helping us really get our start.
That's awesome. So now I'm going to have a special question for you guys. So it comes from a supporter of you guys. Her name is Karen. I think you'll recognize her.
Hey friends, I have a question for you. So I know you are each soloists in your own right. So how do you blend your unique individual voices to make a classical crossover group?
That's a great question.
Yes, Karen, that is
we have a really good sound man. No, you know what? I think that is the beauty of great singers. People that not only have the ability to hold the stage or carry a song by themselves, but then have the ear to back off vocally, to blend, to listen to the people that you're singing with. So I think, and that's not something that all singers can do very well. So we try to work really hard at understanding each other's tones, pronunciations of lyrics, and just try to really connect, on stage and off stage. If you don't have a good relationship connection, sometimes that just doesn't jive. So, but I think we work really hard and I think we take a lot of pride in having a great blend, and having the uniqueness that we all have, the five of us separately, but with one voice, it's pretty powerful.
Yeah, and we all come. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Andrew.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say, I think one thing we've learned over the years is, we've all recognized that the five of us have very unique, different voices, and we've learned kind of by trial and error. But the biggest thing is that what's gonna serve the song the best. Yeah. So it's gonna depend on what the song is. If we're doing something that has a little bit more of a pop rock kind of feel, we're going to lean heavy on Jordan's sound, and we're going to all kind of try to blend to that. Definitely let him take lead on that. And then same thing goes if we're singing more of a classical song or something that has a little bit more of a legit style, we'll lean more on Scott and James. And so we've definitely learned that over the years. At first it was kind of like fitting a round peg into a square hole and trying to figure out how to make it work. And then we realized, well, why don't we just do what the song calls for? And that's helped.
For sure.
Just sing loud.
Sing loud.
That's how you really do it.
And the deepest kept secret of Veritas is that when it's a high unison thing that really needs to blend, I stopped singing. I take it.
God is an
God.
excellent.
Oh, man.
Cat's out of the bag.
The world knows.
Scott, fake right now.
Man.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
But he looks good doing it.
It's all that matters.
I completely identify in choir. Sometimes he'd be like, the mix is not right. And I just tell my friend, I was like, watch this. I'll just stop singing for a second. He's like, it's so good.
There it is. Nailed it.
That's funny.
That's great.
That's actually one of our favorite phrases as singers. Somebody's like, this isn't right. You're not doing this right. In the studio, someone's like, you're singing off. And we'll all be like, watch this.
Oh, it's perfect. So when you guys first started, was someone else doing the arrangements, and maybe now you guys have a little bit more input in that?
It's really kind of always been a balance of finding arrangers that we trust, finding producers that we love what they're already doing, and then learning to work with them. And that, it changes a little bit depending on the project, depending on what we're needing. But we've always found producers and arrangers who like I said, we trust them, and then they are always gracious to work with us and to listen to what our needs are and our desires are, and ultimately landing on something that we all believe in.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. I think the word that you use there, Scott, important is the word trust, because I think for a long time at the beginning, we kind of were figuring out who we were, what our sound was, and all of that and stuff. And we were very guarded about who we worked with, because we didn't want people pushing us in this direction or in this direction hard, because this is, for us, this was a new thing and a kind of a new sound in the world that we were touring in. And we knew what we wanted. We knew what kind of artistic direction we wanted to go in at that time. So we were pretty strict about who we let into that vision. And I'm glad we did, because in a lot of ways it captured what we wanted to do, but it also pushed us into some ways that maybe we weren't thinking yet. And like currently we're working on a new album. We're going to start recording vocals for that next month. And we're working with a producer that we've always wanted to work with. From the day we sat down at the very beginning, we wrote down on the dry erase board, we want to work with David Hamilton, who's a brilliant producer, arranger, orchestrator here in Nashville. He's done stuff for Disney parks. He's done film scores. He's worked with Andrea Bocelli, two cellos. Like, he gets this kind of world that we spin in. And so we've been working on the album with him, and it has been just an amazing experience because we knew what he was bringing to the table. And he's asked some good questions of us, which has been really good, really needed too.
So can you give us any other teasers about the new album? Because obviously I think your last album was your first a cappella. So what does this one have in store?
Well, it's for sure not a cappella.
Okay.
Definitely not. There's going to be some full orchestra involved on a lot of the tunes, so we're very excited about that. We haven't worked with an orchestra in a little bit, and yeah, we're really excited. It's going to include some really, really great songs that I think everyone is going to recognize for sure.
Yeah, we've mentioned it a couple times in concerts to a few audiences, and we haven't made any public announcements, but we do have a tour that is being worked out, and this album will be facilitating that tour. It'll be the music for that tour. And like Andrew said, it's songs that everyone will recognize, but we're really kind of focusing on the last century and finding some of our favorite songs and some of the most beloved songs from every decade of the century, and kind of putting the Veritas spin on each of those songs.
Mm-hmm.
And so is that towards the end of the year, we're thinking, with timing?
Yeah, we're holding that a little loosely. We had already, there were plans for it last year, and we had to rethink a lot of things. And so we're hesitant to really put a definitive date on it yet, just because there's nothing definitive this year, you know? So we're really hoping it'll be the end of this year. And as that kind of gets more solidified, we'll be sharing some more details about that.
Gotcha. And how is the recording? So are you each going to record in a studio that's local to you? Or are you recording from home?
Yeah, we're gonna be working with David Hamilton, so we'll be in his studio in Nashville.
Excellent.
And we will all go out there as a group and work together on developing these songs, and they're gonna sound great. We're so excited about it.
You know, what's interesting about this record too, that we've actually never done, and this was something that David is kind of pushing us and to do, is that we're actually going to record a lot of the group vocals together, like at the same time, because a lot of times with a group, you record your parts individually and then the engineer just puts them all on top of each other. This time, there's actually a room here in town that's big enough for us to be distant and isolated and everything. And we're going to hit go and we're going to sing it together. So hopefully our goal with that is that it's going to be a very cohesive sound that all captures the same emotion and all of that sort of stuff. So we're really kind of excited and scared about that.
So your style, I would say, is a really good representation of like Christian music and classical crossover. I think classical crossover is really inspirational by nature anyways. But tell us a little bit, is like faith very important to each of you?
Absolutely. I mean, each one of us have grown up in the church. We've all grown up singing in the church, and our families have been highly involved. And our faith is extremely important to us individually and as a group. And it's something that we've never shied away from it. But also we don't just sing in churches either. We've kind of had a very wide variety of places where we sang, and also a wide variety of the music that we sing too. But as you can see, some of our previous albums, especially the a cappella one we just did, we included some of our favorite hymns. Those are songs that mean a lot to each of us individually and as a group. And then we love to go and sing, some of our favorite songs from musical theater right after that as well, which are also very important to us. But yeah, I would say our faith is very important to us. And we love to sing songs that tie back into the way we were raised and the things that we grew up around.
Yeah, and Well,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I was just gonna say on top of that, Scott, music is a universal medicine, and it brings hope and healing to a lot of people who hear it, no matter what platform you use. And so that's always been our hope, is to use the dynamic of music and the lyric and the power of a melody to bring encouragement to people and bring hope to people. And so we're truly blessed to be able to have the opportunity to do that on such variety of stages.
Yeah.
And we're really excited about even the future moving forward, going into the next couple years.
Yeah, I mean, just to add on to that, I'm not spiritual at all with this cross on my finger, but we had the opportunity to sing at Carnegie Hall, which is one of the biggest stages in the world, and we did both Amazing Grace and Bring 'Em Home on the same stage, and it was just interchangeable. So when we move out into theaters, we have the opportunity to do a completely non-sacred show, but then we can do Amazing Grace or the Lord's Prayer in there and encourage people with that as well. And that's something that we'll never shy away from. So yeah, very important to us.
Yeah, I love on your current album, I think you did It As Well. And with everything in the world right now, like that, I just think it's such a tremendous song in terms of, despite everything as well with my soul. But then again, you guys are going to do, for instance, our concert, you're doing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. So I think that's awesome, because I think people sometimes think you have to choose, right? You either have to go completely sacred or you have to go complete. And it's wonderful to be able to really do both of those.
Good music is good music.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like for us, we strive to do music that is authentic to who we are as people. And that includes faith-based songs. That includes songs that are more secular or mainstream in nature, because they move us. We don't necessarily have to choose between the two. I think the thing that we strive for is to, whatever we do, to do it in a way that is, first off, authentic to who we are, but also in a way that is just done really well, and in a way that we try to pursue excellence. I think excellence is a word that you cannot ascribe to yourself. That's something that other people have to ascribe to you. But we do strive to do our very best with whatever we do, and and that includes songs like Somewhere Over the Rainbow. It includes songs like It Is Well My Soul. It includes songs like Nature Boy or You've Got a Friend by James Taylor. These are songs that we love, that move us in all kinds of ways. And there's something sacred about creating something good and beautiful, no matter what style it fits into,
James dropping some hints about the new album in there.
Oh, maybe. Subtle.
And another thing that's really unique about Veritas that I find unique is the fact that not many groups can do that, can sing different styles of music, and they usually have to stick in one lane. And so obviously we make it more of a contemporary classical vibe, but we really have the ability to be very flexible and sing a lot of different styles. And I think that's what makes us so appealing to people, is because they're going to hear so many different kinds of things musically. And so I think it's really exciting.
So having said that, you obviously each did some solo things also. So do you have like a favorite performance you did as a solo artist that maybe is kind of in your specific, maybe classical, maybe rock, maybe Broadway? Wait, I guess we could start with James.
Wow. Good question.
That is a very good question. I will say the most recent thing that I did that's actually something that I'm very proud of. Here in Nashville, we have a lot of studio work that comes through here because of the musicians and the musicianship and everything. And Disney did a re-recording of Beauty and the Beast for the stage production. they were retooling the script and the orchestration and everything to be more community theater friendly. And so I went to an audition and was cast in the role of Gaston, and which was so much fun. I would never be able to play that role actually on stage just because I'm so scrawny, but like to be able to sing it, you know, in the studio and to perform it and to have them be so encouraging about it was, I mean, that was really fun for me. And sometimes when I'm down on myself and I'm like, I'm the worst, I just go back and listen to that recording. I'm like, I'm not the worst, but I'm not, you know, this is pretty good. I like
It
this.
sounds amazing.
It does, yeah.
Really great.
Thanks.
You nailed it.
Appreciate that.
Is it available to download, or is it kind of like just for the theater group?
It actually just is for the theater folks to buy the rights to the demos and everything and stuff. So yeah, but it's still fun. I'll have to sing to you, Natasha, so you can hear.
Yes.
You'll have to keep it to yourself.
Okay. Please do. That will be awesome. And Jeff?
Whoa. Well, that's a hard one to sum up. I've had the privilege of singing in pretty much every state in the United States. I don't really have a favorite performance necessarily. But I love sports. The guys know that I love sports. So probably singing the anthem for, you know, Seahawk games and Sonic games before they left Seattle and now we're in Oklahoma City. You know, doing things like that, I think are always so special and fun. And then, you know, my wife and I, we sang a lot together. And so we've had the opportunity and sing in some pretty incredible places, all the way from New York to Los Angeles. And so I would say that's just a highlight of being able to travel with my wife. It's a lot of fun too.
Yeah, that must
Can
be
I tell
super
a
special.
Can I tell a favorite story about Jeff and singing solo? So we were in Orlando, Florida. We were off. We had a day off. So we went to a live karaoke place at Universal Studios or City Walk at Universal. And live, like they're live players, live background singers, and all of that. But it's a karaoke joint. So people are just like terrible, you know, going to regular karaoke. It's a blast, but they're terrible.
But there's a lot of people there, man. That room had
it was packed full of people.
1,000 people in there easily.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Pre-COVID.
we signed Jeff up to sing Faithfully by Journey. This live band and they're killer players, killer backup singers, and they're having to sing behind all these terrible performances. So Jeff gets up there and starts wailing on Faithfully, and you could see it in the band and you could see it in the singers, and they were all kind of like, and they just kind of got in, they all leaned into the moment, and the crowd went nuts because it was so good. And we all were just screaming our heads off. And it was just epic. It was absolutely epic. And Jordan did the same thing. We signed him up to do what was that song? Wanted, Dead or Alive, Bon Jovi. Slayed. And people just lost their minds. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun because you don't often get a really, really awesome band and they're just like, hey, let's do whatever you want. We can do it. And here's background singers that already know the song. And it was a lot of fun for sure.
It's epic.
Sounds amazing. Would have been great to be an audience. I don't know how as just like a regular person singing, you could have the nerve to get out and sing in front of 1,000 people, but wow. How about you, Scott?
I'd say probably one of my favorite solo performances. In 2018, I was invited to do a concert at Carnegie Hall. There's a modern oratorio called Savior, and Veritas has actually performed it as a group before. But I was invited. They did a 25th anniversary production of Savior at Carnegie in 2018. David Hamilton was conducting it, and then some of my musical heroes were also part of that. Larnell Harris, Wes Hampton, Travis Cottrell, Annie Dupree, and myself were the soloists for that event, and I got to perform the role of God for that anniversary production. So that's probably a highlight for me as a solo artist.
His voice sounds like God, doesn't it? I mean,
I can just imagine.
Yeah. That was really fun.
And how about Jordan?
Yeah, I haven't done a ton of solo stuff per se. When I was in New York, I went on like 2 auditions, and one of them was for the musical. It was off Broadway at the time, so it was very early. It was for Rock of Ages, and it was like a rock musical. And I actually got cast in that show while I was there in musical theater school, just in a chorus, and that was going to be a huge opportunity for me. But then the show went on hiatus and didn't come out for years before that, so I didn't get the chance to do that. But that would have been a cool solo opportunity for me if I'd gotten to do that. But I would have to say, coming out and singing, and probably Andrew would agree with me, coming out and singing with Sandy on the tour, just as ourselves, just doing duets, some of her timeless classics, Sandy Patty, that she had some huge hits, and we got to come out individually and sing with her. That was probably one of our biggest honors, was doing that.
Yeah.
And that was your first tour, was it, that you guys supported Sandy?
No, that was in 2016 and 17.
Okay.
So that was about 4 or 5 years into Veritas.
Yeah.
That was the first major tour that we ever did,
It
though.
was.
I mean,
Yeah.
100 and something shows, and
Wow.
I mean, every night in a row. It was pretty epic.
For fun.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know if I lost you guys. You also switched direction on my screen there, but
Fun.
Andrew, I guess you're next.
Yeah, I haven't done a whole lot of solo things. I'll say one of the like highlight performances. It definitely wasn't a solo, but it was when Jeff and myself and Jordan stepped out and did Bring Him Home at Carnegie a few years ago. That was kind of one of those bucket list type moments in your life. I mean, being in New York City, singing such an iconic song. It was one of those I can't believe this is happening moments. Yeah. And then being on such a historic platform, it was pretty amazing. Definitely one of those things I'll never forget. But as far as completely solo performances, let me think. I'm finishing up my doctorate in just a little while, and so I have a performance that has yet to take place. But I'll be doing my doctoral recital in a few weeks, so I hope I'll be proud of that one. We'll see. It's in a few weeks.
You will, buddy.
Be
You
awesome.
become Dr. Drew.
Dr. Drew.
Dr. Drew.
And Andrew, I will say this. This is another story. Okay. Story time with James. I saw Andrew and Scott both perform in Les Miserables when Veritas was pretty young. Andrew was Angelus.
Right.
Yes, and Scott was
Frontier.
Yeah, and like they both killed it. Like acting, singing, it was epic. I'm just a fan of all you guys.
That was fun. It was a fun show.
Andrew reminded me of a fun factoid when he mentioned Carnegie and Bring Him Home and stuff. Because when I was at musical theater school, I worked at the restaurant across the street from Carnegie Hall as a waiter. So I would always want to be like, oh man, it'd be cool to sing there someday. But I never really thought that would actually really happen, And then left New York, moved to Mobile, and then somehow I got back and then we went and ate at that restaurant after our performance. And I was like, this is really good. Get the bistro burger.
Full circle there,
Full
right?
circle moment.
Full circle.
Yeah.
Neat story.
Now, you guys seem to really just like enjoy each other's company. On your last album, you even have like little spots where you're talking to each other. So do you guys like play any pranks on each other when you're doing concerts?
We actually used to, I don't know, we had a hashtag going for a little while called Scaritas.
Ooh,
And
okay.
it's mainly just Jordan scaring James over and over again.
Yeah. I love to be scared.
That's a common occurrence.
Yeah.
Any special moments that you remember that kind of stand out as like you're really proud of that
There are
particular
some
prank?
we might not be able to tell them on here,
Okay.
Wait. Of scaring, yes. So early days, we used to share rooms because money. And Andrew and James were sharing a room. And when you go out into the hallway, you call your wife or your friend. You just need some privacy, so you go out in the hallway, make that call, and come back in. Well, one of these guys forgot to close their door. They left a little thing open, and I knew it was their room, and I just happened to be. And so they were both like in bed watching TV. They're in their double, like each bed. And I ran in with my phone light flashlight on and just screamed as loud as I could in the dark. And James sunk into the bed. I've never seen anybody sink into a bed before. That was the first time. And Andrew hit the ceiling. Screamed like a little girl.
I did.
Anyways, it was awesome. It was one of the greatest scares I've ever seen in my life.
Pretty epic.
It was epic.
It also may be on video somewhere, and I can't replicate that scream. That was pure terror. I thought my life was over.
I would have done the same. I would have been horrified. So yeah, it was mean, but it was awesome, and we'll live off that for decades. Yeah.
So we should all check out that hashtag then. What was it? Veritas Scares?
Oh, we didn't share that one.
Veritas. That one's not on there. I may have said a few expletives. And that one's not on there.
Understandably.
Understood. All right, not safe for work. I got it. Okay. So this has been awesome. To wrap up, I'm just going to give you a couple like rapid fire because on your website you have all these little personal facts. So I thought we'd do a couple of those. So let's start with singers. What's your favorite song if you each have one?
It's hard. There's a list of like a top 20 list, probably a top 10 list.
Your song, Elton John. Your song, Elton John.
Okay.
Yeah, all right. Strong.
High on the list.
Really high. My two favorites that come immediately to my mind are Faithfully and Bohemian Rhapsody. Those are my top two. I love Open Arms too. I love Open Arms a lot. So yeah.
I'm gonna go more classical. Nessun Dorma is probably my favorite classical song, just because it's such an iconic tenor song. And I got a funny story about that. So they have a
rapid fire, Jeff. Just kidding.
I was on a plane ride, and they had a documentary that was made of Pavarotti. And so I'm watching this, and this is pre-COVID, so the plane is packed, and I'm sitting in a middle seat, and I'm watching this, and it gets to the end of the documentary, and they just showcase him singing Nessun Dorma. And this is not unusual for me, but tears start coming down my face. And by the end of the song, I'm literally just blubbering, like shaking, and the people next to me are thinking, what in the world is happening to this man? And I just got so emotional, but I love the melody of that song. There's just something about it that gives me goosebumps every single time I hear it.
Yeah, it's so majestic.
Yeah.
I think, have Andrew and Scott given theirs yet?
Man, I don't know. That's hard for me to nail something down. I mean, I would definitely agree with Jordan. I'm a big fan of anything that Queen did. And then I listen to so much musical theater. I think probably just because all the music just moves me so much. So yeah, I don't know. I can't nail it down to one thing. One of my favorite shows is Les Mis. And then maybe a more modern is Dear Evan Hansen, stuff that's really moving, very personal. I'm a big fan of Hamilton, which the rest of the world is as well. So
you guys would actually do great doing You Will Be Found. Just an idea.
Yeah.
We've talked. I've actually
love that song.
suggested that song.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's a hard question to answer. But I mean, as far as stuff that I want to sing or that I enjoy, I mean, I'm going to lean typically more classical. Certain arias, La Calunnia from Barbara Seville, Becca from La Boheme, something like that, or musical theater. My dream role is to play Scar and sing Be Prepared. That's like bucket list for me.
Be awesome.
Scar on Broadway. So if you know any people in New York, hook me up.
I wish I did. If I do find someone like it, definitely recommend you. How about as far as books? Do you guys like reading? Do you have a favorite book?
Twitter.
I'll say one book that I love to read. I read a lot of philosophy, and I love reading. But one of my favorite books that has challenged me and I love to revisit is The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield.
This is a great book.
Incredible book, and a lot of it's just talking about pushing against the just everything that wants to prevent you from actually creating art. And the resistance towards creating out of insecurity or fears or any of that, and just pushing against that resistance. It's a fabulous book. I highly recommend it.
Interesting. I'll have to read that.
Mm-hmm.
I am a big Brene Brown fan. Daring Greatly by Brene Brown is a fantastic book. I think anybody who is a musician, especially singers, should do some research on shame and the role it plays in our lives, because I think singers in particular have a very specific interaction with shame, and that book has just really helped me a ton to let go of some of that and to embrace who I am as a singer, and to be okay with that. So Daring Greatly, Brene Brown.
Check that one out too.
Great book.
Yeah, I'm not a big self-help book reader. I probably should be, but I don't have the attention span. I did really enjoy reading The Lord of the Rings. I'm a big fan of the Tolkien books.
Yep.
That's honestly the last thing I read, and it was really good. And then
Narnia makes me cry, so I feel you.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, that was also good. I like the fiction stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm a big fiction reader, so all the sci-fi fiction stuff, and then of course like Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, all that stuff. Any sort of teen novels.
I'm a big fan.
As I'm finishing my doctorate, bring me all of the teen novels you can.
Yeah.
I love it.
You're reading enough
those things,
petty
man.
stuff.
That's awesome.
Oh man.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Hey man,
Oh.
talking about Buffy.
Don't change
Goosebumps.
that. It's good stuff.
That is my favorite TV show of all time. Just back to it. And it is the greatest show of all time ever made. So
Yep. That's right.
it is.
So that leads well into. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I like reading C.S. Lewis books. Speaking of Narnia and all of those, but I actually picked up recently the Screw Tape Letters, and it's such a fantastic creative read. And that guy's mind and ability to communicate is just so powerful. So I've really enjoyed reading his books.
Yeah, I think my sister just recently got, or maybe it was last year. I'm losing track of time. But as quarantine, most of us are binging. So what shows have you guys been binging?
Oh boy.
Oh
man.
Ted Lasso.
What shows have I not binged? I guess that's the question.
Ted Lasso for me. That's been my favorite binge.
Ted Lasso.
So good.
Yeah. We've all seen Ted Lasso. We're all watching WandaVision.
Yes.
No spoilers. I haven't caught up.
Spoilers, I'm actually behind as well on that.
I'm
Schitt's Creek.
Yeah.
Big fan.
Schitt's Creek.
Big fan. Dude, David.
That was good.
I'm currently binge watching a Cobra Kai.
Ooh, yeah. I just finished.
I haven't done that.
And Yellowstone.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool because I like, cowboys and the outdoors and stuff, but this guys are like cowboy mafia guys, so it's kind of crazy.
Good show.
Fun show.
Good show.
Yeah, my
What
wife
about
and I,
you, Natasha? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh no,
Andrew.
go for it.
No, same as you guys. The last thing we just binged over 2 days was WandaVision.
Yeah.
So good.
So
good.
yeah.
I'm excited about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier that's about
I
to
am
come out.
too.
Yeah, 16th.
Be good.
Right?
I really like the Winter Soldier. It's a good character. Very underestimated
Mhm.
in the Marvel series, the universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of my faves.
Yeah.
Is that TV show? Or is that going to be a movie?
It's a series.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
I'll
Maybe
watch that
is it a limited series? I think it's a limited series.
I think so.
Yeah, Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Yes. So many good things coming up. So the last question I have is, we all have these skills that we're like, if I had time, I would do, whatever, learn this language. So we've had some time over quarantine. What have been some of the new skills you guys have picked up?
I used the Duolingo app for about 2 weeks on Spanish, and then I kind of fell off that.
Fair.
That was about it. At some point, I really started running like a psycho and would start running like 6 miles a day. And then I kind of fell off that wagon too. Now I'm doing about 3 occasionally, 3 or 4 times a week. That's about it. So that was something I got serious about. Anybody else?
Disc golf.
Disc golf. Yeah.
Disc golf. Playing a lot of disc golf. And then grilling and smoking.
Uh-huh.
Not like this kind of smoking. Smoking food. I should have thought that one through.
And
Really
Big hobby of mine is just smoking, just lighting it up every night. Yeah,
That's awesome.
it was good. You can
Well, I'll
edit
be
that out.
basing.
I think we've all gotten in on that smoking food thing
Yeah.
now.
Not me.
ew. Yeah.
I'll go buy it.
I've been trying to get back into playing a little bit more guitar and trying to learn some more musicality. I'm not a piano player, so I'm trying to learn, the basics, make myself a better musician.
You sat down at the piano. We were together a few days ago, and you sat down at the piano, Jeff, and started playing it. It just made me smile so big. Like, I can't explain why, but I was just like, Jeff's playing piano. I love that.
You must have been even more moved when I sat down and we started playing Heart and Soul together.
Now, that was less moving because we all know Heart and Soul is the worst.
But we had so much heart behind it.
You
Oh,
did.
It was
Yeah.
a lot of heart.
whatever.
We felt like
It was a lot of heart.
professionals.
I'll say, and this is a little bit more on the serious side as opposed to like fun things I've picked up over the last year. Trying to be more habitual about self-evaluation and just kind of checking in with myself, I would say meditation and being mindful about how much time I spend, consuming things on my phone and through screens, and just trying to be mindful of my breathing and prayer and reading spiritual literature and stuff like that. That's been a really big help for me this past year. So it's been awesome. I'm really grateful.
I've been spending a lot more time outside, a lot of hiking, and that's kind of my happy place. Whenever, like, even for my birthday gift from my wife was, she said, "Hey, go! I've got our daughter all day. You just go hike." And it was like
Enjoy.
great. And so hiking and then writing a lot more. I read a lot anyways, but I've been trying to write a lot more. Whether anybody will ever read what I'm writing or not, I'm just trying to actually get it out of my head and onto paper, and just trying to get my thoughts out there. And that's therapeutic in a lot of ways and fun and stretches my brain. And I don't know, I really, really enjoyed that.
I believe one day people will read what he writes. I just predict. I have a feeling he's going to have a book.
As long as you read it, Jeff, that's all that matters.
Oh, I'll read it for sure.
What about you, Natasha? Like, I
Me?
know this is an interview with us, but like,
I guess just learning to do these interviews, because for the
Yeah.
magazine, it's always been more over email. It's just been the fastest way with people, on tour and whatever. But actually getting to speak to you guys and chat,
Fun.
it's been a lot of fun.
It's cool.
wow, and you did it. You do a great job at it,
Yeah.
and bravo to you for leaning in and building something pretty great.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry I've interrupted at least you guys like at least 10 times each, but thanks for coming on and doing this. And we'll definitely have to have you guys on again when you have your new album. We'll share all your links, and people, you guys can catch them at the concert next week. It'll be March 28th at the Classical Crossover Community Concert. So thanks again, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please stay tuned because Veritas will be performing at our Classical Crossover Community Concert. That's next week, so go ahead and hit subscribe so you can see when we go live. I also want to say a huge thank you to our Patreons, Karen, who contributed today with the lovely question, and also Tuomo. Please, if you guys would like to join us, check out the link below. And we look forward to seeing you next week for the very special concert. And then, guys, stay tuned. More great music to come in May with The Sound of Crossover. See you next week.